this session is really made for this conference, which is called Behind the Curtain of PowerShell Commandlets. In this session, I'm going to show you how Commandlets look like behind the scenes, because most of you probably work with I guess all of you work with PowerShell, and you get used to like commands like GetService, getDate, and so forth. But what it does in operating system? Because for most of us, when we run PowerShell, it's just natively work in Windows. But to be fair, it does something else behind the scenes. That's what I want to show you. Anyone been to my sessions before? Anyone? Okay. So you know I work in security. And so the question here, like why am I showing this session if I work mostly in security, why I'm showing the commandlets? So the reason is because in security, we have malware analysis, where you really need to understand, and generally speaking, this topic came from malware analysis. So you really need to understand what this malware does. Plus, there is a forensics when attackers also try to like confuse the investigators and try to like cover the tracks and use some fake commands. So that's what I'm going to show you how it can be done with PowerShell. I cannot promise you, if you don't work in security, I can't promise you that you will find that session very practical, because for administrators, there are like easier ways, like less complicated. So you can follow something I'm going to show you and can develop your own commandlets, but there are like less complicated ways to do it. Like you can use WMI instead, for example. But after this session, you will definitely understand how it works. If you really want to develop, you'll be able to do it. And if you work in security, then you have a good chance to understand better what attackers do. Or if you work in offensive security, then anyway. So thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to me that I'm here again. I'm a consultant, instructor, conference speaker, my custom VP in security. I think I have almost all offensive certifications, like pen testing certifications, top 3 sessionize, and so forth. You may guess I'm Russian. I live in Portugal, but I'm still Russian even if I live in Portugal. And this session is not really about security, so I'm not going to show you the slide I showed you yesterday about assumptions, that I'm ready to hack. Here I'm not going to hack anything. I'm just going to show you how commandlets work behind the scenes and how I can obfuscate them and use and show the operating system something different. All right, so I'm not even. Most of this session is based really on demo, so that's why I don't even have agenda slide. It will be like a long demo. But before that, I just want to show you a few slides. Just make sure that we're on the same spot. Are you aware of Win32 API? So did you hear this word before? Okay. Anyone use that really? Oh, not that bad. Okay. So you use API calls. So when developers want to do something up on your system, of course they use API for that. In Windows, when you want to do something in Windows, like make any changes, you will use Win32 API. So that's a set of functions and data structures provided by Microsoft for developers to interact with the operating system. So they are stored in different DLLs. So kernel DLL, advanced API DLL, and so forth. There is a number of them. It doesn't make sense to show you all of them. So we're going to use Win32 API extensively here. And what can we do to really understand? So to really understand what the PowerShell does. When you run PowerShell Commandlet, it makes API call. But how do you know which one? So like, if you want to understand how to develop your commandlets, you need to understand API calls. But how can you find which call it makes? So what you can do, you can execute a program, in our case PowerShell, on a live system, and just hook an API, and then take a look what are parameters be returned, and so what was the result of the execution. We're going to use here API monitor. You may find on this using this URL. By the way, they don't have HTTPS, but it's just a download, so it shouldn't be a really big problem. It's not my website, by the way. Not my website. So, But if you go to HTTPS, they say, oh, we don't have anything here. All right, so you may monitor API. I will run myself either. We can hook, we can monitor API calls. So what we're going to see how it looks like on the live system. What you can also do, and we're going to do it either. So PowerShell source code is open. Anyone tried to read that code? Cool. Nice. So probably you know everything from this session. So what you can, PowerShell, they are based on .NET framework. And so like .NET, PowerShell team also open source it. And if you go here on the GitHub, you're going to find PowerShell's the source of all PowerShell commandlets. Of course, they are not really easy. It's not a really easy reading. And if you're not, especially not a developer, but you may find it there, and that's what we're going to do in this session. Okay, so 2 more slides, and then I'm going to switch to demo. But PowerShell is based on .NET framework, is what is called managed. So it used managed libraries, managed. But when you call APIs, that's the native libraries or unmanaged. And now we need somehow talk to from managed code to unmanaged code. So we must have some kind of conversion, and this conversion is called marshalling. So if we want to call, if we want to like have a conversation between managed code and unmanaged code, there's a procedure called marshalling. So there's a process called marshalling. So marshalling is a process of translating data between managed and unmanaged code. So you may find in the code with attributes like DLL import and marshal as. So finally, one last slide. Oh, 2 slides. There's one slide to explain you technically, and then second slide explains you in like simple text. By the way, second slide based on generated by Copilot. Last one. The actual connection between the native code and managed code will be done with pinvoke, platform invoke. So allows managed code to call functions from unmanaged libraries. So from here, from C#, we'll be able to call our Win32 DLLs. Oh no, just one slide. Sorry, I thought I had a slide from Copilot. Asked like in a simple language. All right, so that's it. That's something we're going to use in this session. Now, big demo. And first, before I start show you any demos of that stuff, what I would like to do, I would like to go to my machine, close that, and close that. Just in case I turn off antivirus to make sure it will not break anything. We're not going to do anything malicious, but just in case, because some API calls may look something weird for antivirus. So let me close that. Now, let me open PowerShell. First, let me open PowerShell 5.1, and then type something like GetService. Works fine. Let's type GetService. Oh, by the way, let me just change the font for you. Should be even better. Let me type GetService. On another machine, let's say computer name, web1, and now it gave me service from another machine. Let's try something else. Let's try new service. And let's type computer name. Not there. I cannot create new service on the remote machine. That's the first limitation I can show you real quick. Second limitation, if you open PowerShell 7, it will be even worse. Let's type GetService. Works fine. GetService. GetService. Computer name. No, tab key isn't working. All right, let me type it. Computer name web1. There's no parameter. Of course, you know how to override it, right? So you know the way. At least if you want to get service from another machine, or you want to create service, you can use wmine or some other. So they're remote in many ways. But I just want to show you the fact that we have limitation, just a built-in native limitation PowerShell, and how can I override it by showing you the code and API calls. Make sense? All right, and you will see that this limitation is just artificial. So it natively support. I mean, it can support it, but just developers didn't do it. My guess is because of the PowerShell 7 is like a cross-platform, and there are maybe some compatibility issues with other platforms, but it's just a guess. All right, so then let me open API Monitor. So API Monitor, I opened already as administrator. What I need to do here, I need to find System Services filter, because here I'm going to look for services. I can expand services, and I can find that they are stored in the Advanced API DLL. And here, and from here, again, I'm going to monitor new process and open PowerShell. Just no arguments, just PowerShell. That will be 5.1. Let me click OK. Look at the API Monitor. So it did something. At this moment, I don't want to give any commentaries about that. Let me type command. Let's say get service. Go back. Now, look at this. We have the call. So first API call was OpenSC Manager W with 3 parameters. What they are, we'll see later. Then it makes 2 calls to enum service status W, and then it closes service handle. So every command that you run, it will execute some win API calls. That makes sense? All right. So now what I would like to do, I would like to go deeper into those API calls. Oh, let me just make one more call. Now let me clear the screen. And this time, let me run computer name, web1, and let's see the difference. This time, the first parameter is not null, so initially it was null. Damn it. It was null. Now we have the same OpenSC Manager W, but this time the first parameter has the value web1. So there's a difference. So now, let's take a look at the API itself, API call on the Microsoft website. So we'll understand what those parameters are. So this OpenSC Manager W function establish connection to Service Control Manager on specified computer and open specified Service Control Manager database. If you look at parameters, so first parameter is machine name. So that's why first time it was null. Second time it had web1. Then LP database, which just null is okay. It just means service active database, which is like here by default, don't need to change anything. And W desired access. So that's about access control. To be fair, we don't really need to change anything here as well, unless we would like to make our API call from like from PowerShell, like make a PNBOK from. I will talk about that in the end of the session. So return value. If functions succeed, the return value is handled to specified Service Control Manager database. All right, so that's the first function. Since I don't really want to work with GetService because it still works on PowerShell 5.1, I would like to do new service. So let's run then new service. No parameters, that's fine. I just want to. I still need to give parameters to see anything. Let's say something like. PSConf and the binary path name, something like that, psc.exe. All right, so let's go back. And let's see something else. All right, now we have another API call called CreateServiceW. And let's take a look at this function. And let's see. So this function has many parameters, but it has also input parameter. And input parameter came from where? From the previous, from the previous API call. So, new service and get service, they use the same function to get information about workstation, but for some reasons, new service doesn't use it. For some reasons. We'll see that, but just for now. So there is no information in the new service about computer name. So everything came from HSC manager. And so here we can see this handle to service control manager database. This handle returns by the OpenSC manager function. All right. So in theory, if this value will not be null, if this value will have something other than null, it should accept it in CreateService. Should. We didn't try, but it should. How can we verify it? So we can try to create service ourselves manually, remotely. Can you do that remotely? WMI. You can try to do it remotely. Or the easiest way to do it, let me show real quick. Let me close that, by the way. Let me just discard the capture. Let me open API Monitor again. All right, so let me run new process. This time, what I would like to do, I would like to run... Did you hear about PSExec? Do you know when you establish PSExec, first thing what PSExec does is what? Create a service. Exactly. So if I run PSExec, it should create a service. Let's see. So I'm going to open PSExec, and the parameters will be -s, / web1, that's my another machine, and run cmd there. Okay. And look at this. It is possible. So from the API perspective, this is possible. So there's not much difference. I mean, PowerShell doesn't have this attribute, but API allows that. So the same API calls that are used by PowerShell, they are allowed to create service remotely. So if I specify the web1, and then it works. We can check that, by the way. If we go to web1 PowerShell, I'm gonna go to services. Let's sort it by name. And PSExec. Here we go. So here's the service. All right, now we know that we can go deeper into that because it's definitely allow us to create service remotely, but there are some artificial limitations. So now I have some bad news for you. I need to open the code. So it's even worse than look at APIs. I need to look into code, but luckily I already have I'm going to show you the lines where we need to take a look when we need to make more investigation. So first line is here. That's the get service. That's where we start the procedure get service. By the way, if you open that in Visual, if you download that locally to your machine and open Visual Studio, it will be even more convenient for you. But on the website, it looks like that, so it's like a plain on the website. On the GitHub, I mean. So here's the get service. If I want to find new service, because that's where we focus on, it's somewhere here. Yeah, here. That's the new service. It's a new service. So first, we have a commandlet. Then if I scroll slightly down, I can see parameters. So parameter 1, name, of course, is just mandatory parameter every time. So then next parameter, also mandatory, you can see it, mandatory true, is binary path name. Then display name, which is now optional. We have other parameters and so forth. So please find parameter here, computer name. It's not there. It's not there. So let me show you something else. Let me show you one more line. I think it's faster just to find a line number rather than make a search. Look at this. Have you seen that before? So DLL, import, pinvoke, OpenSC manager, so our function, and so forth. So if you look at the code on the GitHub, you're going to find those API calls, marshalling, and the parameters, machine name, LP, database name, and so forth. So everything is there. All right. So let me show you 2 more lines, and then we're going to do something. We're going to make changes. This line. This line. So here we really start to connect to service controller. And look. Hard-coded null. So there's no choice. It's just null by default. I mean, it's in if I scroll a bit up, you will see that that's about CreateService. You can see here CreateService. That's about CreateService. Oh, okay. And null is just hard-coded. Okay. Now. Last line, and then we're going to start to do something. Here is the CreateServiceW function executed. And again, it takes information about machine from HSC manager. If I go back for a moment, you will see that the same name, the same variable, HSC manager. One moment. HSC manager. All right. So let's try to change something and see if it works. So first, let's try to do something like a bit stupid. I mean, not really stupid, but something that good for test, but of course non-transferable at all. I'm going to hard code the name of machine. Well, of course, I need to switch to my machine this time. My developer machine. Okay, the line is this line, and let me change null. So instead of this null, I will hard code web1. What I need to do next, I need to save it. Then I need to build the solution. Building solution takes 2-3 minutes, and I don't want you to wait. That's why. So what I need to do here? No, normally I just need to go to this C PowerShell or something like PowerShell. Go there and import module to build. And then I need to start PS build, and also I can make a clean as well. So that's this one, but it takes time. So for the sake of time, I already built all solutions, and let me show you the result. So here's the build number. Oh, that's not a different machine. Let's go here. And here is the build number 1. Oh, by the way, I have all the shortcuts. Build number 1. All right, now I'm going to run new service. But before I do it, let me show real quick if I let's make it bigger for you. Let's say get service name PSConf. Nothing. Oh, also, by the way, also let's also remove errors. So error, ignore. Okay, so ignore. Now go back and say new service name PSConf and the binary path name whatever psc.exe. Fingers crossed. By the way, I don't remember if I run this guy API monitor. Oh, API monitor is for PSExec, but I think it's clear, right, that it did the same. So it opened SC manager, there was a hard-coded value, and then create a service. Yeah.
Did you only did you build the whole PowerShell repo again, or?
Yeah, that's a PowerShell solution. That's my solution. That's my PowerShell solution.
Not only just the parts, just the whole.
Yeah, it rebuilds the whole solution, and then if you want to like override something, I don't recommend, but if you want, you can override on your machine, or you can just distribute your solution and use it for administration. All right, so let's move on. Oh, by the way, how much? Oh, I have 15 minutes. Oh, I should speed up. Now, let's remove that service because I'm gonna continue to play. Let me jump back to Web 1. Type that. Delete success. Ignore. Let's go back. Now, next step I would like to make is I would like to create parameter. Because it may work fine for one machine, Web 1, but will that work for other machines? No, of course. So what I need to do, I need to do something else. So I would like to go to another place. That's where I have parameters. And so after another parameters, I would like to place my own parameter. So like between description and display name, I would like to place my own parameter. It will look like this. One moment. So it looks like this. New parameter with name, computer name. All right. So again, I need to rebuild it. Let me avoid it because I already have solutions. So let me jump here. Open solution. By the way, it doesn't do anything at this moment, but you will see parameter. Properties, font, new service. Come on. And let's see, computer name. New parameter. It doesn't do anything because I just create a parameter, but it's at this moment is empty. What I need to do? Last thing I need to do. Going back to my developer machine. Here, the same machine. And here I need to also add the value. Instead of null, or instead of this time not Web 1, I need to say what? Computer name. Save that. Rebuild. And let's go back. Again, I have all solutions already. I'm going to close that. So build number 3. Let me close everything just in case. PSExec, let's close that. And PowerShell. Again, change font for you. It's just for you. I can see it anyway. Now, nothing. New service. Name, PSConf, binary path name, whatever. And, okay, web 1. Like in the beginning. So, it's not over. All right, so you got an idea. Worth it to use it for development? Quite complicated, right? So more to understand. But I came from security, I told you. So let me show you one thing. My favorite part of this session. I don't know if you are doing any investigations. Any? It could be more like a malware analysis rather than for investigation, because for investigation maybe hard to. I will talk about that in the end, what to do. But let me just show you as is. So first, I'm going to open PowerShell on my local machine and say new, come on, new event log. So the question is log name and so forth, right? New event log.
Security.
Do you really think it's still event log? Let's call that PSConf, okay? Let's say log is called PSConf. Binary path name for event log. Access denied. I must be administrator to do it. Second? F? No. It's a bit that access denied. You can see that. Such a nice demo, but failed big. I need to open PowerShell as administrator, but you got an idea, right? So now I'm typing event log. If you look at the PowerShell logs, it's still like event log, but I'm creating this as service. So that's the security stuff, because to confuse investigators, what happened on the machine, attackers may do something like that. Okay? And they do it, really. All right. So we have 10 minutes left. I have a couple of more slides, and then...
Have you just changed the source? Or?
Few tweaks, but one of them is change the source. Few tweaks. Because there are a few places where you need to make changes, but yeah, you need to make changes in names and like in a few places. All right, we can like.
Question.
Yeah, sure.
Is the purpose to create a new service while starting the event log, not to override the event log that it's not visible what you have done?
The goal here was to show you that. In the log itself, I mean the PowerShell logs, the commandlet will be new event log, but in fact, I create a service. So you cannot trust your eyes, because if you think that it was command new event log, in fact it was something else. That was the idea. Yes?
The attacker won't have time to recompile PowerShell, like saying to modify the source code and compile new PowerShell.
It depends. So it's not really about like a typical attack. It could be also in some kind of persistent threats, but mostly that's about like malware analysis when they have some command that can be obfuscated, and it's just a malware that was created before. But you just really need to look at the API calls rather than the commands themselves, because they can really confuse you. Also, it might work in the forensic investigation, but the problem of forensic investigation that we don't collect API calls normally. So SIEM system will not collect API calls, and that's where you need to focus on the events rather than commands. So you need to take a look what happened rather than what command was like run. All right, so 8 minutes. Last slide, and then your questions if you still have them. So I showed you like a development when I built something, but also your questions were about, will attacker have time for this and so forth? So there's a number of tools. Maybe you heard about that. Did you? Yeah. PSReflect. So PSReflect. So PSReflect, that's the module, enables attackers to execute code in memory and allowing them to bypass traditional security controls. To be fair, not anymore. I mean, in Windows 11, that's why I don't even show you demo of PSReflect, because if you run that on the Windows 11 machine, Defender will kill it immediately. So it used to work pretty nice before, but not anymore. But I still think that I need to place it before. If you want to play with these APIs but don't want to like look in the code, rebuild the solution, PSReflect may be one of those things. So PSReflect enables the ability to create PowerShell functions that call Windows API function directly in memory. And based on PSReflect, we have PSReflect functions. By the way, what is funny, in the PowerShell repository gallery. But if you install it on your machine, Defender will start to complain. So PSReflect functions, they are based on PSReflect, but they have a bunch of functions already. So if you want to create service remotely, if you want to like run API like CreateService and so forth, open SC manager and so forth, it's already there in PSReflect functions. I can show you how it looks like, for example. I think I'm not sure if I have it's installed or not, because Defender always complained. But how it may look like from PSReflect functions. So you just import PSReflect function, and then something like that. So first variable, you need to open scmanager.w, specify computer name and desired access, and then you run next variable about CreateServiceW. So you can do it natively from PowerShell with PSReflect functions, but keep in mind it will be very noisy. That's why it's not really practical. So before I answer your questions, I still have 6 minutes. If you are administrator, what should you do with that? I don't know. Again, you can create your own modules. I don't mind, but it may be quite complicated. So again, I know less complicated ways to achieve the same. If you want to create a service, there are much easier way to do it rather than create your own command. Yeah, you may need to create it once, but there are easier way to do it. And I gave you like a template for service, but you can do it for anything else, and you need to develop it yourself. But so there are easier way to do it. If you really want to create something your own, go for it. But for regular administration, there are easier way to do it. That are less complicated. In security, this is really important. If you do some like malware analysis and you need to understand what this malware is doing, that's where where this topic came from. So in fact, it was adaptation of this malware analysis for PowerShell conference. Then also in the forensics, if you need to find what kind of actions user did, what kind of activity. So there are two ways to do. So some SIEM system, they can collect also information about API calls, but it's very, very specific SIEM system, so it's not common. More common is to use Sysmon, Sysmon tool. So use Sysmon, collect information about events rather than commands. And so here you look at the output, not really the command itself, but you look at what happened after that. So after this command, like service was created. It was event log, but service was created. Probably I would trust to Sysmon rather than to the PowerShell. So that's a recommendation. That's a recommendation I can give you after this session. And of course, you always have empty slide. You always have 4 minutes to ask questions. Soon you will have 3, so you may start. Yes.
How did you get API monitor running? I tried on 2016 plus and had issues, but obviously it seems to work.
API monitor?
Maybe I did it wrong at the time.
Did you take it from the link I gave you?
Oh, I mean, this is years ago. So like it worked on 2012 R2, but it failed on 2016 for some reason. But if it works there, obviously.
Windows 11 is fine.
Yeah.
No issues. Good. Yes.
The PS Reflect, I assume it's using reflection to...
Exactly. Of course, it's using reflection.
Same vendor catches it now. However, if you manually try to do reflection, does it catch it as well? Windows 11?
So the question was, just in case for TV watchers, so the question was about the reflection. So PS Reflect will be detected, but if you do it manually, then it won't be detected. Of course, many things that you didn't. I have a separate session about defense evasion, which is not really, I don't present at this conference. And many things, like if you use tools that already known on the web, they will be blocked. But if you do the same from your old code, it works. So the same here. And by the way, I didn't do anything malicious. I mean, just play with API bit. I did the same that the PS exec did or something else. And by the way, also antivirus was turned off. Just in case. Yes, but I had permissions. Why not? Good question. Anything else? 2 minutes. I can run one more duck race, and if there are no questions. All right. So then, if there are no questions, or you want to ask something privately, then thank you very much for your participation.